Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in about 2 minutes to give folks some time to join us before we get started. We'll get started in 1 minute. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our October all stakeholder meeting for the Summer EBT program known as Sunbox. My name is Paula Martinez, and I'm one of the analysts assisting with the Sunbox implementation. I will hand it over to Valerie, who will start with a few housekeeping slides to familiarize you with the meeting controls. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Paula. Hello, my name is Valerie. I'm one of the analysts working on the Sunbox program. As you may have noted, this is a Zoom webinar. This webinar will be listen-only mode. The meeting invitation also provides the option to connect to audio via phone or computer, depending on your preference. This webinar will be recorded. As soon as the recording becomes available, you may follow the YouTube link on the Sunbox webpage, or go to the CDSS YouTube website to access the video recording. Next slide, please. While this webinar is listen-in only mode, we are providing you with the way to ask questions. You can ask about the program and today's content by using the Q&A section. To do so, select the Q&A button located on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You're welcome to submit a question at any time during the webinar, and they will be collected and answered at the end of the webinar during the Q&A period. Next slide, please. We're also offering the chat feature in addition to Q&A. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Share your name, location, and organization if applicable. Note that when using this feature, you have the option to select everyone, which is the default, or to select a specific participant to send your chat to. If you're having any logistical issues, you can use the chat function to ask for support for one of our co-hosts, Osmar Mesa, who is handling logistics today. To do so, you can go to Meeting Controls, select Osmar Mesa in the dropdown, type in your logistic question, and hit Enter. Osmar will respond and provide you with an answer to your question. The chat feature is to be used for logistical questions only. All program questions should be asked in the Q&A section so we can keep better track of, respond to, and document the questions. Next slide, please. In today's meeting, we will provide a brief background and an overview of Sunbox to ensure everyone is on the same page. We'll also share 2024 highlights, including outcomes, outreach efforts, disaster response, and customer service. We will also discuss 2025 program planning, including important information to remember for the year ahead, and an overview of the Interim Plan for Operations and Management, or IPOM. And as always, we'll go over our next meeting and we'll provide some time for questions and answers. And with that being said, I'll hand it over to Jeremy to get started. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon. Let's do a quick overview of the Sunbucks program. Next slide, please. Before we get into specifics, we want to define terminology that will be important to know to understand the upcoming slides. One of the requirements for Sunbucks eligibility is that a child attend a school that participates in the National School Lunch Program, also known as NSLP, or the School Breakfast Program, also known as S-EBT. The NSLP and S-EBT are federal programs available to qualifying schools that serve meals to students. It is overseen by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and administered by the California Department of Education. These programs are federal and state reimbursement programs for healthy, quality meals served and meet federal requirements. Schools that participate or that operate NSLP and S-EBT are required to offer free or reduced price meals to eligible children. Another term we may refer to throughout this presentation is the summer operational period. For California, the summer operational period is June 1st through August 31st. The Department of Education reviewed available school calendars and found that over 90% of California schools are on break during this time. In California, the compulsory age to attend school for children is ages 6 through 18. So when we say school age, we are referring to children between those ages. Lastly, you will hear CEP or Provision 2 school. CEP stands for Community Eligibility Provision School. CEP or Provision 2 schools allow the nation's highest poverty schools and districts to serve breakfast and lunch at no cost at all to enrolled students without collecting household applications. Next slide, please. Our 2024 summer operational period ended August 31st. For students that were eligible for 2024, these were the ABCs of eligibility. Groups B and C in teal colors on the right are those automatically enrolled due to streamlined certification. That is, receiving CalFresh, CalWORKS, or Medi-Cal under 185% of the federal poverty level, or certified for free or reduced price meals through direct certification, categorical eligibility, or an NSLP S-EBT application. Now, a much smaller group of children is Group A, who are not streamlined certified, those in the banana color on the left. These children need to apply by August 31st of each year. At this time, we expect to continue to use the alternative income form or meal application for 2025. Note that we are still doing data cleanup and are not finished mailing cards for 2024. We anticipate cards will still be mailed out through January 2025, albeit a smaller number. As we exit 2024 program year, we are now looking towards 2025, and we generally have the same sort of eligibility as the 2024 year. Next slide, please. To clarify, to be eligible for free or for reduced price meals and therefore Sunbucks, children must be a part of a household in which the income is confirmed to be at or under 185% of the federal poverty level. The table on the slide reflects the income threshold for eligibility to reduced price meals in school nutrition programs. For children in a household to be determined eligible for Sunbucks, the household must not exceed the income limits displayed on this table. But please note, the income guidelines for free school meals have a lower income threshold, but to be eligible for Sunbucks, eligibility for reduced price meals is sufficient. To determine income eligibility, the parent or guardian must submit a school meal application or alternative income form at their school site. Next slide, please. It is important to note that children who get supplementary security income or state supplementary payment, also known as SSI/SSP, or the Adoption Assistance Program, can also get Medi-Cal, but may not be certified at or under 185% of the federal poverty level and will need to submit school meal applications or alternative income forms at the child's school. Reminder that the application deadline for summer 2024 was August 31st. Next slide, please. California's Universal School Meal Program, or UMP, provides free school meals to every child, regardless of whether they are eligible for free or reduced price meals as defined by the federal government. It is important to not equate receiving free school meals as eligibility for Sunbucks. UMP participants do not automatically get Sunbucks and may need to submit a school meal application or alternative income form with their child's school by August 31st of each year to be eligible for Sunbucks. Next slide, please. Sunbucks benefits are provided on an electronic benefit transfer card, or EBT card. They are issued in a lump sum of $120, $40 per month for each of the summer operational period months. One card is issued per eligible child for the entirety of the summer. The Code of Federal Regulations requires that benefits be expunged or removed 122 days from when the benefits are loaded onto the card. Benefits cannot be reloaded to cards once they have been removed. Since Sunbucks benefits expire 122 days after being issued onto the card, families who also receive CalFresh should prioritize using their Sunbucks cards first. We'd like to note that the expungement date is not noted on the card or any of the accompanying documents. Customers may contact the Sunbucks helpline if they would like to know their card expungement date. For enhanced security, we encourage cardholders to download the free EBT Edge mobile app to create a PIN and learn how to protect their benefits. This tool will provide Sunbucks cardholders with enhanced card security features, including the ability to freeze and unfreeze their card, change their PIN, and check their balance. More info can be found at www.ebt.ca.gov. Next slide, please. Let's now transition to some current outcomes and highlights for the 2024 program year. Next slide, please. Here are the latest Sunbucks activity numbers. Stage 1 streamlined card issuances were completed on 8/8, and Stage 2 issuances began 9/3, bringing the total card issuances so far up to 5.3 million cards. That's $642 million available to the children in California. As stated previously, Stage 2 will continue with monthly issuances planned until January 2025. In the meantime, over $453 million in foods have been purchased. I'll hand it over to Bernardo to go over our outreach for 2024. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good afternoon, everyone. We've used the various methods of outreach and education that you see on the screen to inform families on the Sunbucks program, including these all stakeholder meetings, which are posted to the CDSS YouTube channel. We'll share a link to the YouTube channel in the chat. Next slide, please. Apologies. We're happy to announce the CDSS Sunbucks Partners page has been aesthetically revamped to be more user-friendly and is shown on the screen. We take this time to gently remind our partners that on this page, you will find sections including all previously issued regulation guidance, flyers, infographics, newsletters, news releases, and stakeholder engagement section, which contains all previous all stakeholder meeting recordings. We'll share a link to the partners page in the chat. Now let's talk about our Sunbucks automated messaging campaigns. Next slide, please. Automated messaging consists of emails, text messages, and phone calls that are sent to families whose children are eligible for Sunbucks. Automated messaging has become a great way to notify Sunbucks benefit recipients of important information regarding their benefits. In this slide, we present our current automated messaging campaign timeline. To recap, for stage 1, automated messaging started in May 2024 and ended August 2024. This messaging was for families whose children were directly certified as Sunbucks eligible. For stage 2, automated messaging started on September 3rd and will continue until January 2025. This messaging is for families who were not captured in stage 1 and are now enrolled. For benefit expungement, automated messaging started on August 16th and will continue until May 2025. This message is to announce the child has more than $0 on their Sunbucks card and to be sure to use Sunbucks before they expire, or federally known as expunge. And finally, disaster response automated messaging is sent to families as needed to notify them to contact the Sunbucks helpline to report food loss that was purchased with Sunbucks due to a recent disaster. And for more information, please visit our Sunbucks website. I'll hand it over to Giselle to go over Sunbucks disaster response. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Bernardo. Good afternoon. I am Giselle, an analyst in the Sunbucks program. We will now look at Sunbucks disaster response. Next slide, please. Latest timely reporting extensions. The timely reporting extension provides additional time for impacted Sunbucks households to report their food loss due to the recent wildfires and power outages. The standard 10-day time frame to report an incident of Sunbucks food loss is extended to 30 days. The table displayed on the slide reflects the recently impacted zip codes that were eligible for the extension to report the food loss. Households impacted by the recent wildfires and power outages can make a request for the replacement of Sunbucks benefits by calling 877-328-9677. Approved request will have benefits reissued within 40 days. Next slide, please. Automated messaging for disaster response. Sunbucks sends out automated messages to households regarding benefit replacements when a timely reporting extension, or TRE, is approved for a county. Emails and text messages are sent out in English and Spanish to families living in the specific zip codes and counties affected by the current disasters. For Sierra, San Bernardino, and Lake counties, messages were sent out on September 20th with more information about the TRE. In addition, more detailed information about disaster response is available on the Sunbucks website. Next slide, please. Now, we will transition to customer service. Next slide, please. Customer service is a huge piece to ensuring a successful rollout of Sunbucks, and our call center has been live and operating since May 28th. The helpline phone number is provided on this slide and can also be found in the card mailer. on the back of the Sunbucks cards, and on our website. The call center helps families with PIN setup, card replacements, address changes, both general and complex eligibility questions, and field escalations to CDSS and CDE as necessary. Escalation items could include requests to opt out of Sunbucks, benefit replacement requests due to household misfortune, and eligibility disputes. The helpline also provides expungement dates to families. Next slide, please. Now, we'd like to share some data on the calls received. The first table shows the total number of calls received in September, broken down by language, for a total of 96,826 calls. The second table shows the calls received from October 1st to the 7th, also broken down by language, for a total of 23,734 calls. We can see a decrease in calls during these 2 months when compared to the highest call month in July. In July, the total calls were 176,705 calls. For September 2024, the largest number of calls were regarding card reissuance requests due to an address change, eligibility questions, reporting lost or stolen cards, and card mailing status. Next slide, please. Duplicate card issuances. The Sunbucks team has been made aware that there are some instances in which families are receiving more than one Sunbucks card for the same child. As a reminder, each eligible child is entitled to only one issuance of $120 for the summer. If a family receives more than one issuance, the family must notify the Sunbucks helpline immediately by calling 877-328-9677 and must destroy the extra card received. Now, I'll hand things over to Jeremy. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Giselle. Now let's transition to our 2025 program planning. Next slide, please. We want to highlight some key points that will carry over from 2024 to 2025. First is streamlined eligibility. As shown in an earlier slide, streamlined eligibility exists for children who are 6 to 18 years old and who receive CalFresh, CalWorks, or Medi-Cal at or below 185% of the federal poverty level, and children who are 0 to 22 years old and attending a school that operates the National School Lunch and or School Breakfast programs and are certified for free or reduced price meals. In 2024, approximately 77% of eligible children qualified for streamlined benefits. To ensure families receive their Sunbucks EBT cards, it is crucial to keep the addresses up to date with both schools and county welfare departments, as Sunbucks cards for streamlined eligible children are mailed to the address at their school and county welfare department, if applicable. Additionally, we'd like to remind everyone that getting Sunbucks does not impact immigration status. As always, please visit the Sunbucks webpage for the most up-to-date information. Next slide, please. On September 6th, we submitted our 2025 Interim Plan for Operations and Management, also known as the IPOM, to the USDA. The 2025 IPOM is a preliminary document that notifies the USDA of California's intent to operate the Sunbucks program in 2025 and provides preliminary benefit issuance numbers, and provides administrative budget estimates and narrative explanation of those costs. The purpose of this document is primarily for the USDA's fiscal forecasting, and it does not cover any of our operational plans, waiver requests, timeline, or outreach for 2025. As we get approval, we will keep you all updated. Next slide, please. Now let's look ahead to summer 2025. The Sunbucks team is planning for an even more successful operational year in 2025 by working towards solutions to issue benefits quicker, focus on increasing access to the program, and exploring additional data sources to expand automatic eligibility. We look forward to sharing more information as it becomes available. Now I'll hand it back over to Paula. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jeremy. Now let's review the Q&A section together. But first, a quick reminder that this webinar was recorded. A link to all presentation materials will be published on the website once available. Please note these require time and patience for ADA accessibility and translation. You can find recordings from our prior stakeholder webinars on the Sunbucks playlist as part of the CDSS YouTube channel. You can see the link to the page on the slide. Now we'd like to hear from you. What questions do you have? You can ask your questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we will respond verbally and in writing. I'll go over the questions that have already been asked and answered throughout the webinar. So the first question is, will we go over the delivery schedule of those students who qualified as late as the 8:30 deadline date? The answer is we will briefly mention that issuances are planned through January 2025. We're doing this to ensure all children eligible as of the end of the summer operational period are issued benefits they're eligible to. The next question is, how is CDSS planning to work with schools for outreach next year? We've heard from a number of school staff that they did not hear about Sunbucks earlier this year. The response to that question is CDSS and CDE are in the planning phase for 2025 and will share more information when more information becomes available. The following question is, my district has a family who called the helpline and was informed that they had no record of them qualifying. Their income form was processed 8/24. Do they just need to be patient? The response is, hi, Ariana, yes, it does take time for the forms to be processed through the school, CDE, and CDSS. We recommend that the family follows up with the helpline 3 months after their submittal date if they did not receive an eligibility determination or Sunbucks card. Next question. Why does the expungement period have to be much lower than CalFresh? A response to that is benefits are meant to be used in the same duration children are out of school. The following question is, in what language were the automatic messages sent? The response is automatic messaging for stage 1, stage 2, and expungement are sent in 19 threshold languages. The following question is, apologies if I missed this, but is there data for pinned cards available by county? The response is we do not have any information readily available, but we can look into how we can obtain it. Following question is, a family gets the messaging in 19 languages. And the response to that is a family will get a text, voicemail, or email in their preferred language, if within the 19 threshold languages. If outside of the 19 threshold languages, they will get a message in English. The 19 threshold languages are Arabic, Armenian, Cambodian, Chinese, English, Farsi, French, Hindi, Hmong, Korean, Lao, Portuguese, Punjabi, Romanian, Russian, Spanish, Tagalog, Thai, and Vietnamese. We have one more question, but we'll give our team some time to answer that. In the meantime, we can go move on to the next slide, please. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, December 17th from 2 to 3 p.m. Be on the lookout for an invite to the next meeting. Meanwhile, feel free to email your questions to sunbucks@dss.ca.gov. Also remember that all meeting materials will be sent out to everyone on the email distribution list once they become available. See, we still have one more question that needs to be answered. For the data on PIN cards by county, when can we expect to hear more about it? We'll give our team some time to answer that. In the meantime, is that email a good one for parents as well? Yes, parents can reach the Sunbucks team through sunbucks@dss.ca.gov for questions. If it's specific to eligibility, we do recommend that they reach out to the hotline. Okay. And then the answer to the last question for the data on PIN cards by county, when can we expect to hear more about that? And the answer is we can provide an update to this at our next webinar, if not sooner. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.